Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Recently, I gave an interview for the credit analyst role and I was selected. I would like to share my experience, the kind of questions that are asked, the preparation that is required to give an interview at a bank, more specifically for the credit analyst role. So, I would like to give a brief about my experience overall so that it could help not only people who are interested to join a bank, but also people who are interested in the financial services sector. And I hope that it is helpful for everyone. I'll be making this video in two parts. The first part will be for the HR round, and the second part will be the technical round. I'll be making it in two separate videos because there is a lot to cover. So I'll get started with it. So these were the questions that were asked to me in the HR round. Now, firstly, coming to the preparation part, I from the very beginning I knew that I want a role either in equity research or credit research, and considering the kind of opportunities that were offered at the campus placement, I started uh, started preparing for the credit research profile. Now, the technical part, actually, I didn't have to prepare much for it because during my YouTube journey and during my CA journey, I spent a lot of time reading newspapers, reading different types of articles, studying about different types of banks, financial organizations, etc. And I had an idea about what kind of questions that could be asked, and I didn't have to specifically prepare for it. My focus was on the HR questions because that is going to be the first round, and that is where they are going to be. That is where a first impression of you is going to be created. So the most common questions are: tell me something about yourself, your strengths and weaknesses, where do you see yourself in the future, etc. So these kind of questions you need to prepare really well. I would suggest that you try to uh, check different kinds of videos uploaded by HR directors on YouTube and on various sources like Google, where you can easily find commonly used answers. But I would suggest that you customize it to your own personality and your own choices so that you are as honest as possible. The reason why I'm saying that it is important that you are honest in the interview because these are, I would say, veterans in the field, and they know what kind of articles and videos candidates read and watch before coming to the interview, and they know what kind of pre-drafted answers are going to be spoken. So they are going to come up with follow-up questions that is definitely going to get you trapped in the maze if you are not being honest, because you cannot answer follow-up questions to someone that are, I would say, based on the personality of some other person. If it's about you, you will be able to think and answer quickly. But if you are just mugging up answers, then you are going to be trapped. So now, starting my interview experience. So the first question, as expected, tell me something about yourself. So over there, I had decided that I'll speak about things that I am okay with them asking me questions about, because let's say now my articleship experience was in audit and taxation, and I didn't want them to ask me questions about this because uh, even though I have 3 years of working experience in this particular area, I still don't consider it my specialization. I'm good with finance and whatever comes in it, but audit and taxation not particularly. So, in the tell me something about yourself answer, my emphasis on was on my academics and my hobbies because I'm a fresher. So there's not much to talk about my professional life. So the first thing I spoke was I'm a recently qualified chartered accountant. I did my graduation from HR college. I make YouTube videos on finance, business case studies, etc. And I spoke about my hobbies. That is, I love to watch and play cricket, football, and chess. And I am good at classical music. I learned classical music for a year or two. Now, based on these particular points, the entire HR round went. He picked things one by one. So uh, coming to firstly, he started asking me about my YouTube channel. So if you can see, I've mentioned elaboration about hobbies and extracurriculars. So the first thing that he picked up was YouTube. He said, "What kind of videos do you make? And can you give me some video topics that you have recently covered?" So I said that I generally focus on. I said that there are three types of videos that I mainly make. The first one is core finance, where I cover things like financial ratios, like capital adequacy ratio, CASA ratio, return on capital employed, P ratio. Then there are case studies where I cover past stories or uh, business case studies, like I would say the Abdul Karim Telgi scam, the encounter between Dhirubhai Ambani and the Bear Cartel, the global financial crisis of 2008, ITC stock, and the third one is discussion videos, interactions, or CA guidance, anything related to it's a more of a generalized category. So now I was very well prepared in these particular topics like the capital adequacy ratio or global financial crisis, because I have done my research about these topics for making my YouTube videos. So I deliberately mentioned these topics because I knew they're going to come up with follow-up questions and I would get to show what I am confident about. So he started asking me about the capital adequacy ratio. What exactly is it? What are the requirements? So I mentioned that this is the minimum ratio that is required by the RBI. However, the top banks in India maintain a much higher capital adequacy ratio. So he asked me a follow-up question. What's the point of maintaining a higher capital adequacy ratio considering how scarce capital as a resource is? Isn't it a wastage of resource? Isn't it bringing down the return on equity of the bank? So the answer to this question that I gave was, banking has a much more, I would say, a much bigger fiduciary responsibility towards the people, towards the depositors, towards various stakeholders, and it's not just a profit making machine. It's better that a bank maintains a capital buffer so that it gives comfort to the investors as well as the depositors. They don't lose a night's sleep. And during times of crisis, the bank has enough buffer so that they don't have to raise capital at desperate valuations, at distressed valuations. And also, in the past, companies that have been maintaining lower capital adequacy ratios have gone into deep trouble, and at times become insolvent, and the regulator had to bail them out. So it's important that a higher capital adequacy ratio is maintained. Profitability is not everything in banking. It's all about trust. Now, he also asked me about the global financial crisis. Now, the specific question was, the global financial crisis was caused due to the irresponsible behavior of the banks in 2008. Now, the banks are, I would say, quite irresponsible. I'm sorry. So I said that banks have been quite irresponsible when it comes to uh, making products during 2008 crisis. Like they were originating ninja loans. Ninja means no income, no job applications. And they used to sell these loans to investment banks. They used to make asset-backed securities using these loans, which were of very poor quality. Then they made synthetic products, CDOs, CDS, etc. There was so much of, I would say, products that were very risky to the system, that were being created by these banks, that the entire system became a ticking, uh, it was a ticking time bomb, because anytime it would go off and the entire global system would come down. However, India is a completely different story. RBI is a very, very good regulator. RBI is very strict when it comes to the institutions that are operating as banks or NBFCs in India. They are not allowed to make such synthetic products. And RBI in general, I would say, is it's a superior regulator as compared to others, as it knows what exactly is the need of the nation. Now, the next question was, why do you want to join this organization? So I talked about when was the first time I came across this particular company. I talked about a recent acquisition that made me read about the bank, its history, and as I came to know about the vision of the CEO, how exactly is the bank operating, how do they see growth opportunities in India. I really liked the bank overall, and it made me really want to work for this bank. And it was a pleasant surprise that it was one of the companies that had shortlisted me for an interview, and here I am giving this interview. And the next question was, where do you see yourself in X number of years? So I to to give an indication about how eager I was to work with this bank, I stated that I was going through the annual report of the bank, and I came across the management commentary section where the CEO, CFO, CRO give their views. So when I looked at them, I felt like someday even I want to be an integral part of this organization, just like they did. Now, it's not a simple journey. It's not possible to climb the corporate ladder in, I would say, the next 5 or 10 years, but I want to reach closer to my ultimate goal, and I want to grow with the bank. So the interview lasted for some 25 minutes. I might have missed a question or two, but this was a summary of what exactly happened in the HR round. And lastly, they asked me if I had any questions. Now, this question is very important because you need to go and have some questions in mind for the HR, for the partners or the directors who are interviewing you, because that shows that you are not just, I would say, a person who is coming here to answer. You want to know more about the organization, about their operations. So I asked them how does the typical life in typical week in the life of an employee look like. So they described how it was a very dynamic environment, what kind of opportunities are available, etc. So yes, this was a summary of my HR round. And if you have any queries about what material did I refer and how exactly I groomed myself for the interview, you can mention them in the comment section, or you can connect with me on social media. I've put the links in the description box. Uh, Stay tuned for the part 2 of this interview. I'll be uh, sharing the second part soon, where I'll be discussing how my technical round went. So yeah, thank you for joining, and all the best for your future. Thank you.